Welcome to another episode of the Boss Talk with Terry podcast. Today, I got one of my brothers in arms, a service excellence professional, a retired military officer, and one of the more successful appliance repair business owners that I know. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Boss Talk with Terry podcast, brother Lamar Station. How you doing today, Lamar?
Hey, Terry, I'm doing very well. Happy holidays to you. How you doing?
Doing great.
That's awesome.
So you recently retired out of the Army, correct?
That's correct. In May of this year. So May 1st of this year was my official retirement date from the Army after 23 years of military service.
Awesome. So, let's kind of just break into it. Tell me a little bit about Lamar growing up, where you grew up, how was things coming up, the type of environment, because what I want to do is I want to kind of unpack the man, how you became the person that you are.
Got it. All right. Well, thanks for allowing me to share my story. So first of all, I come from a military family. So my dad was in the Air Force for 4 years. My mom was in the Air Force Reserves, and my stepdad retired from the Air Force. So a lot of my childhood was growing up in a lot of different places because we moved a lot. So early on, I was going from base to base, and so like North Carolina. We actually spent 2 years over in Spain. My dad was stationed over there, so I spent some of my elementary years there. And then North Dakota, I was there for junior high and for 2 years. And then after that, went back to Albany, Georgia, is where I graduated from high school at. So it finally got to the point where, I was able to stabilize a little bit and graduate high school, in one location. Because moving's fine until you start getting to those senior years where you start developing those relationships and you start, looking toward college and things like that. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my experiences have just come from being in many different environments around many different cultures. And, I still have friends to this day from all those different places. And it just made me well-rounded and able to kind of just, understand different people, different situations, and different things like that. Now, after I finished high school, I went straight to the military. So went straight to the Air Force. As you yourself went down to Lackland Air Force Base.
Yep, good old San Antonio.
Exactly, good old San Antonio, Texas, and started my career from there.
Cool. So, what was it? Best you can remember, what was it like to live in Spain? That must have been interesting.
Spain was very interesting, and I would say the most interesting part was number one, that we lived off base. So we lived within the community. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my friends were Spanish, and although I didn't pick the language up, somehow we were able to communicate.
I bet you learned all the cuss words though, didn't you?
Absolutely. But it's just so living within the community just made it a very good experience. And I mean, the food was awesome. The people were awesome. Very friendly to the U.S. And, we got bussed into the base every day to go to school, and pretty much, we were right back out there in the community. So yeah, the culture was great, be able to go like the Barcelona Zoo and other field trips and things like that. That was very important. That was just good cultural awareness.
Interesting. So from Spain to Albany, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
That must have been somewhat of a culture shock.
Yeah. Definitely a culture shock. But somehow we made it.
Yeah. Well, I was born and raised in Atlanta, and I can tell you right now, Atlanta and Albany are just two different scenarios.
But my running joke is because people are like, "Hey, you from Georgia?" Like, yeah. I'm like, well, I'm from Atlanta. I said, the only time I went to Atlanta was on the bus trip to Six Flags.
Okay.
It was like two different states.
Yeah.
It really was. It was.
You got Atlanta, then you got the rest of Georgia.
Absolutely right. So,
but anybody that's not from here that hasn't lived here don't understand that. But anyway, you get it. So you already know.
I get it.
So from there, you went in the Air Force for 4 years.
Correct.
Which is cool. But then you went in the Army, which I'm gonna give you a pass on that. No, seriously. Your 4 years in the Air Force. What did you do when you was in the Air Force?
Yeah, so in the Air Force, I did what they call survival equipment maintenance. So that was basically, anything you need to pretty much survive, if your plane goes down or, some situation where you need, parachutes, life rafts, escape slides, oxygen tanks, things like that. So yeah, I was a guy packing parachutes at one time, but never had to jump with my own parachute.
Packing parachutes.
never had any complaints, Terry.
Good, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Yeah, that's a key. That's called key personnel right there.
Absolutely.
You don't play around with them positions.
Right. Well, when I went in, I wanted to be a jet engine mechanic. So my recruiter's like, yeah, just come open mechanical, and at some point, they're gonna ask you what job you want. Just tell them you want to be a jet engine mechanic, and you're good to go. Yeah, I learned that lesson. Never sign a contract that just says open mechanical, because whatever is open at that point in time is what they're going to put you in, So
you fell for that line too, huh?
I fell for that line, man. I fell for that line. I didn't have anybody to steer me in the right direction. So after I got done with basic training, they're like, yeah, you're going over here to do this. I'm like, no, I want to do that. They're like, no, that's not how it works. Here's your job. Bye. So,
yeah. Well, mine worked out to the good. I went in open electronics.
Okay.
And because I had this idea that I wanted to be an electronics engineer. And so since the dual degree with Georgia Tech and Morehouse didn't pan out that I was slated for, when I did go in the Air Force, I wanted to go into electronics. They gave in, I like I said, oh yeah, we get you in there and you can. And in basic training, I get notified that there are no jobs in electronics, but you can be an electrician.
Okay.
And in basic training, like they made me climb a 30-foot pole, 30 or 40-foot pole to see if I qualified to be an electrician. And once I climbed the pole and qualified, they said, okay, so now what do you want? Do you want interior,
right,
or do you want exterior? And after climbing that pole, I said, I want interior. Because if I don't want to do this every day.
Right.
So yeah. But mine worked out great because that's what I still do to this day. Absolutely.
That's a great skill set. You probably didn't realize it at that point in time. But
I did. Right. I did. I was a little disappointed, but once I got into it, I was like, oh yeah, this is where, and I ended up learning electronics anyway.
Right.
Because of the base that I went to. I went to Eglin, which is the test base of test bases. So right. I got to touch a little bit of everything.
That's what I'm talking about. That's awesome.
Yeah. So back to you. So you left the Air Force, and so how did that journey end up in the Army? How did you come to pass?
Well, so I left the Air Force, and mainly because I tried to go what they call blue to gold at the time, to go from enlisted to an officer, but that program wasn't open at that point in time. They're like, hey, we're full, try back again later. And my 4 years was coming up. So I got out, and I'll be honest, Terry, at that point in time, I was like, I'm never joining the military. I'm going to civilian world. I'm gonna make all this money. I'm never going to the military again. I'm done. Okay. So I left there and I worked at Stratcom, at the IT help desk. And basically it's like, generals had a problem with their computers. You were the guy who had to go there to their desktop and help them get through what they need to get through. So I did that. And then I got a job at a manufacturing plant. There's a company, I don't know if you remember Lucent Technology.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of kind of went the opposite way as far as going bankrupt for a minute. But anyway, I worked for them for 3.5 years up in Omaha. And one day, a recruiter approached me, and we were talking, and he's like, "Hey, how many years have you served?" I was like, "Yeah, I served 4 years." He's like, "Man, I hate that time to go to waste. You know how they get you, man."
Oh yeah, they're the best salesman in the world.
Yeah, best salesman in the world. You already got 4 years, man. You put your time in, you get a retirement one day. So I signed up, Terry. I signed up for it was an officer program. You come in, like the first 6 months, you're in a listed position until officer candidate school starts. And then you do that for like a year and a half. But I signed up that summer because I really missed the camaraderie. At that point it was the National Guard. So he's like, "Hey, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer, that's all you got to do." I'm like, "Oh, that's easy. I can keep my job and everything." Well, a month later, 9/11 happened. You know what I mean? So after 9/11, I kept getting deployed, to different things. So then at that point, it was like, maybe I just need to see if I can do this thing full time. And that's when I signed up to do it full time. And because I got deployed so many times, my 4 years went to 6 years, And then I'm like, okay, I only got 14 years to get a 20-year retirement.
Yeah.
So, it's like, hey, let me just go ahead and do this full time. Because I was starting my side businesses at the same time. I went to home inspection school, so I had a home inspection business. Then I went to real estate school, so I had my real estate license. But every time I started getting some traction, I kept getting deployed. So at that point, I was just like, you know what, let me shut this down, go ahead and finish up my military commitment, and then hit it on the back end. So that's when I came back full time.
Okay, so you've had quite a few different experiences. You've got to touch a lot of different types of processes and systems and technologies as well. And I see how that translates into appliance repair with what you do today and how you've grown your business. So let's unpack that a little bit. But before we get there, what did you do in the Army?
Oh my God, Terry. I did a lot of stuff in the Army, a lot of stuff.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
And the way I would say it is, well, because as an officer, you're expected to just do, whatever job comes up, and you switch jobs about every 2 to 3 years. But what I would tell you is, out of that, well, let me back up. So when I joined the Army, I joined the Nebraska Army National Guard. Okay. And then, like I said, I kept getting deployed. So the National Guard has a program called the Active Guard Reserve. And so what that basically means is you're active duty, but you're still a Guard member and you're still in the reserve. So you always belong to your state, but you get sent to the full-time program all around the United States. Okay. So from Nebraska, I got a phone call and somebody's like, "Hey, you want to come to Washington, D.C. and serve a tour?" I'm like, sure. So packed my family up, went to Washington, D.C. We were up there about 9 years, Terry, just doing different jobs, working up there at the what they call the National Guard Bureau. And then from there, we got sent out to Kentucky, to Fort Knox. This is how I got here to Louisville. And that's where I finished my career, like the last five years of my career. But I would tell you, I had a lot of jobs. But out of those jobs, there were 3 that really stood out in my mind as key jobs of my Army career. The first one was in Nebraska, and it was called the Recruit Sustainment Program. So I was the OIC, officer in charge. And the basic premise of this program is, Terry, let's say that you want to join the Army, okay? You're 17, you're 18, and you're trying to transition from, hey, I'm finishing high school, but I want to commit to the National Guard so that when I'm at the point where I can go to basic training, I can go there and do my training, okay? That's just the basic premise. And so my job was to get them from the civilian mindset to the military mindset and kind of mentor them, bring them in 1 week in a month, start them with training, take them through different phases with the intention that, number one, they would be committed to the military. And number two, they'll be more successful when they got to basic training and wouldn't fall out of what they call the training pipeline. And then the second job was up in Washington, D.C. And I was I was called an executive officer, sorry. So basically I worked for a colonel, an 06. And the best way I can say it, I was a highly paid secretary. Like my job was when he said jump, you know, you say, hey, you don't even ask how high, you just jump, you know, or, you know, you manage his calendar. You're the gatekeeper to make sure that his time is respected. So to get to the colonel, you had to come through me. So like I said, right outside of his office, you know, the phone rang, I'm answering it. Somebody comes up, I'm talking to him. I had to go print his calendar at 6 o'clock in the morning, go through every individual thing, make sure that his briefings are ready, make sure that the people he has to coordinate with, I've already talked to him, you know, make sure his car, if it's parked on the street, that the parking meter has, you know, enough money in it. So, you know, he doesn't get a ticket, you know, all those little details, you know, it really taught me the spirit of service because everybody can't do something like that. I mean, I'll be honest about it. You know, some people will take it personal. It's like, I didn't get hired to do this, but, you know, I just saw it as, you know, hey, here's my role. I'm a spoke in the wheel. And my job is to make sure he's successful. And then the third job that I had that was really critical to me was here in Kentucky, where I was an operations officer. So what that was is we had people that would go out to the different states and train recruiters. They were all contractors. So I'm the officer in charge, but they're all contractors. And what they would do is they would look at all this data, look at all their numbers, they'll rate all the recruiters and everything in that state and say, okay, what's the analysis of how are you getting recruits? How is each person performing? What regions are giving you the best fruit? And what lead sources are we getting? Kind of like, where do you get the best return on investment for all these people you have out here in the field trying to get numbers in every month, you know? And they would just train people up, which kind of gave me the idea, I'm jumping a little bit, but it gave me the idea of, you know, me being a vessel to go out and try to train some people in appliances in different places and teach them about their business and going through numbers and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, those are the three main jobs of my Army career that really molded me, like really taught me the key things that I bring today to appliance repair.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So you mentioned family.
Yes.
So how many kiddos you got?
I have 4 kids.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. 3 girls, 1 boy, and 3 are still at home. But 3 are grown. Two of the grown are still at home, and 1's 11. So she has little ways to go. But yeah, I mean, once COVID hit, my son was in college in Nebraska. Once COVID hit, he came back home. But yeah, got 3 in the house. Now my oldest daughter, she lives probably about 45 minutes south of here, so she's still in the state. Yeah, came over yesterday. And my wife, she runs the office. Her name's Eureka.
Cool.
Yeah,
So she definitely gonna get into that.
Yes,
and
sir.
how long you guys been married?
Sir, we've been married 17 years.
Awesome. That's beautiful. So let's fast forward to your transitioning out of the Army, and you got started in appliance repair, or got started, you know, with like a side business before you actually got all the way out of the military, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
What was that experience like? Because, you know, we have a lot of people, especially in the appliance repair field, and that come through appliance boot camp or, you know, the other programs that are working. You know, they have their 9 to 5, and, you know, we always advocate, don't quit your 9 to 5 before you can sustain yourself with your business. Now, that had to be super tough trying to do being in the military, because it's a whole different animal than civilian jobs. So what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so it was heavy on time management and scheduling. Those were key things to try to balance having another job, even though I was going through the transition. And so it was about 36 months out from my date of retiring from the military. And I put that dot on the wall. And then I reached out to a franchise owner, and the franchise was called Home Technology Handyman, because I was just doing my research, and it was a company that was, you know, doing a lot of home technology. So, you know, mounting TVs, setting up Ring doorbells, you know, the smart home was kind of where they were focusing at. And so they were looking for franchisees, and they had just started. So I was actually the first franchisee for the home technology handyman franchise. So yeah, so the owner and I talked, gave me a good deal, and, helped me get all my vans and my business set up and everything like that. But yeah, it was just difficult because best way I can say it is I'm trying to fill a full-time role on a part-time basis, and, using other people to drive my business when I really hadn't gone deep enough to really learn the business, if that makes sense. So then I have other people telling me what is and what isn't possible, and I really didn't know, so that was a challenge, and then so in the evenings and the weekends, I'm out there trying to run calls and get things done. And so that was a challenging part, and then you may have some jobs lined up, and, if the military commitment comes, I mean, like, they may say, hey, Saturday, we're going to go for a run. It's like, man, I had 3 jobs lined up on Saturday, so just had to work around that. But yeah, I took it slow. I used the small business administration. I had a mentor there who helped me out as far as doing the planning and doing financials and thinking through the risk. And that was just important for me. I needed some external help. And my franchise owner, he was very helpful in kind of sharing his knowledge with me and make sure I got on the right track with marketing and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a little work, just to put it that way. It was a little work.
No doubt. So being that you came through with the franchise model, you got a good feel for marketing. Did they assist you with the marketing? Did they get, how was that set up?
Well, so Terry, they did assist me with the marketing, but here's what I would tell you. And the franchise owner admitted this. So the marketing, he had a plan, it was like guerrilla marketing and things of that sort. But he admitted probably about a year and a half in that the market had changed from kind of the model they had in their mind of how it would work, because with the Google and the paid leads and stuff like that, it was just a little different than what he was trying to lay out, So, like, a marketing plan would have like, go to a laundromat and, have the paper with the tear off strips on the bottom of it,
Oh my goodness.
Stuff like that.
Seriously?
Right. I kid you not, man.
In 2020, and 2021, really?
Yeah. You're mailing out all these flyers and we got some hits off of stuff like that. But man, I tell you, once we got it figured out that, heavy digital was where we needed to go with the digital marketing for our audience, using some data and targeting them, stuff like that, kind of what we were doing with the recruiters, when I look back, I'm thinking this is a whole different beast, but it's the same logic over here as is over here. Once you understand those markets and you start zeroing in on what's really happening in your area and where this stuff is really coming from, you can just deep down and target right into it. So yeah, they had some marketing, but it wasn't as effective as I think it could have been had maybe some more market research been put on the front end. But understand, like I said, I was the first franchisee, so I kind of feel like I was a pilot. You know what I mean?
Oh, you were.
Yeah. So once they kind of figured out what was working with me, the next people that came through, it was like, overlaying them, starting them at a higher level. And they would call me all the time and ask me like what was working and what wasn't working. I was, I'm all about sharing information. So I'm trying to lay it out to them like, don't do this, don't do that. But if you do this, you're going to get, X percent. This is your ratio for your return on investment. If you put X amount of dollars here, this is how many you're going to get back. So, we found a couple of sweet spots, but yeah. I learned a lot about the marketing just going through that because I had to outlay a lot of money, and it wasn't really getting what I should have gotten from the dollars I was spending. So I just had to kind of learn how to refine that, which kind of helped me as I moved into appliances. There were certain roads I was not going to go down.
Yeah, you were their beta test. You were definitely their beta test. So transitioning to the appliance repair field, and now I know that you went through appliance boot camp. That's how I come to know you. I think you actually took the hands-on course. I did the online.
Right.
Because what I ended up doing was I took appliance repair and added it to my electrical services. So,
Okay.
I never did appliance repair full time because I always have a full-time electrical business.
Yep.
And just being able to add appliance repair was just something that sets me even that much more apart in the Atlanta market. So I look at that as a serious blessing. I mean, it just came along at the right time, because it came along right when I had switched my business model.
Okay.
Because I had primarily had a construction-based model for many of the 20 plus years I've been doing it, or that I've been in business. And when I switched to the service-based model, appliance repair just fell right in line with that business model. Because the whole time I was doing the construction-based model, I was not, even though I was doing service, I was not even interested in doing anything with appliances. I used to get those, people ask me all the time, like, I don't do that. Little did I know
right.
how lucrative the appliance repair
sir.
field was. I'd have been doing this a long time ago. You know what I mean? But, it is what it is. So making your transition with the home technology handyman, and I also know that you have a TV installation course. Do you still have that? Do you still have that course offer for sale?
Yes, sir. That course still offered on Teachable, and that's something I developed because of my experience with home technology handyman. Because we were subcontracting for Best Buy and Geek Squad. And so, I mean, the holiday seasons, they would just, run us around this town like crazy, So we have a lot of, how can I say, well, a lot of different and difficult installations under our belt. Some things you just got to figure out as you're going through it. And I'm like, this is some good knowledge that I can share with people. Allow them to generate some cash flow. So yeah, absolutely, it's called the TV mounting course, and it's on Teachable, and it lays out all the tools you need. The process from left to right. It just gives you an in-depth understanding of TV mounting and some of those nuances that you wouldn't know, and you definitely want to go to somebody's house and try to put something up and mess something up and be have the liability over your head. So
yeah, no doubt. I've been hanging TVs for years, but I'm gonna tell you this: I did peep some of your game and picked up a tip from you. You didn't even notice.
Oh, really?
Watching some of your videos, I picked up a little tip, and I was like, "This is all right." It's the thing with the painter's tape.
Yes, sir.
Outline.
Absolutely.
I never did that before. Never even thought of it. But I do that now.
Right.
I do that now. So appreciate that.
Hey, no problem.
I might need to send you a little something for that.
A lot of something, Terry.
Good looking out. But what I am going to do is I'm going to put make sure that I get the link from you for your course, and we're going to put it in the description below the video. So people that's interested in want to do that, they really need to pick up your course, because you can't go wrong. If you want to hang TVs and you want to do it right, you definitely can't go wrong with Lamar's course, and that's going to put you right where you need to be with that skill set.
Thanks.
So you have built a very successful appliance repair business in a short amount of time. Now, we both see in the groups that we're both in and out here in the appliance repair world, a lot of the struggles that people have, people that's probably been in it longer than you have, for whatever reason. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter what course you take or what training you take, because everybody has their expertise. Everybody has their blueprint, and all these courses work because I've met people that's gone in different courses and who are successful.
Right.
So when you got your TMM, you got your Dyer, you got, of course, you got Appliance Boot Camp. Then you got all these supplemental training aids and training organizations. So really, somebody that's really serious about building a successful business
Right.
have a lot of tools at their disposal.
Yes, I agree.
And you seem to have taken all of these different tools,
Right.
packed them up, put them in the toolbox, and just took off running. Right. So just talk a little bit about how you've built your business and what principles that you stand on in making that happen.
Got it. Thanks, Terry. I thought you were going somewhere. I thought you were gonna say, man, you're taking all this training. He left no stone unturned. But okay.
Well, that's true
too. So Terry, in the audience, the principles I stand on, I tell you, number one is service excellence. Like, that's key to me. I firmly believe that each customer that I have is a business partner at the end of the day. Okay. They got a problem. I'm a problem solver. We're both trying to get whatever's not working correctly working, or at least a solution that's, fair. Because sometimes you can't get stuff to work, but you got to be honest with it. So my intent is always to connect with the customer, put myself in their shoes, empathize with what they have going on, and bring a good solution to the table. That's it. So when I engage my business partners or clients, when I engage my business partners, I'm as genuine as I can be. Okay. But I'm focused on resolving their issue and, and treating them with the respect that they deserve, and treat them fairly. And I'll tell you, there was 1 month I had just started getting in, deep into refrigeration, where I'm like, I read this book all the time. Somebody calls in, I tell my wife, hey, no refrigerators. So finally I got to the point, Terry, where I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go deep. Okay. And this month, I swear there were I think it was 3 refrigerators that I misdiagnosed. And I talked to the customer, I said, hey, I thought it was this. It wasn't. They're like, well, what are we going to do about it? I said, well, first of all, I'm going to reimburse you whatever you paid, past the deductible, over the service call fee. And I'm going to work on getting it right. If I don't get it right, I'm going to reimburse you everything you paid, And that month, it was like $1,500 I ended up giving back to people, It
Wow.
It hurt, but that's just the way, in my mind, you're paying me to resolve your issue. And if I don't, that's on me. I'm going to own it. Because there's, maybe in your town, but definitely in my town, there are guys out there or people out there who take advantage of the customer.
Oh, that's everywhere.
Yeah, customers paying them cash or whatever. They don't return the call, or something goes wrong. We do 90 days. We guarantee 90 days parts and labor. So if something goes wrong, they leave the house and 2 weeks later something's not working. They try and get in touch with the person and can't get in touch with them. That's just bad business to me. So I just try to be truthful, treat people like I want to be treated, and just work hard to resolve their problem. If I'm just solely focused on resolving their issue, we're all going to win. I get better day after day after day after day. So that's number one. Number two is I want to get better over time. I want to continually improve. If there's a training opportunity out there, if there's a way for me to grow, I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to invest in myself and invest in my business. Since January, I started full-time in January. So since January, I've been down to Dyer's weekend seal systems course. Okay. I've been back to the Appliance boot camp to talk to those guys, get a little more knowledge from Mike. I've been to TMM's refrigeration course down in Florida. I went to Asti Light, down in Texas. I've been taking TMM's classes that he has. I'm on Boxer. Okay. I'm Samurai, I'm in his course, So I'm just steadily growing, steadily pulling information in and just learning from other people. learn from other people, following the chats, So just being an active, engaged person, that's a key principle for me. And the third thing is I'm having fun out here, Terry. I'm a retired guy like you, and I'm just enjoying it. I go out there, chalk it up with the customers. I like to spend time talking. I'm never going to be that guy who's trying to do 12 jobs in a day. That's just not me.
Hell no.
I see people like bragging about how many jobs they do in a day, and I'm just like, no, that doesn't make sense to me. Give me 3 to 5 some good customers, some good relationships where people are going to come back and give me referrals of other people, which happens a lot now. That's where I'm going. And then the fourth thing is relationship building. I think I told you, I joined Business Network International, BNI. So this is my second year that I'm a BNI member. And I tell you, that thing, it just pays dividends. I get to sit in a room with a lot of business owners around the city. They're giving me leads. I'm giving them leads. Their mom has a problem. They're like, hey, call Lamar, and that's just important to me. That camaraderie within my local community is huge. But I'm gonna tell you, it's all built on service excellence. That's where I'm going. We just hit a little over 100 reviews between Google and Thumbtack. We're at 4.9 solid, and I'm just repeating the same process over and over and over again. And I don't always get it right, Terry, but I own it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, nobody does. Nobody always gets it right.
Does. They see me there. Shoot. Hey, look. This was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I went to yesterday I did a dishwasher install. No, I'm sorry, Wednesday, because yesterday was Thanksgiving. So Wednesday I did a dishwasher install, and she's like, how long does you think it's gonna take? It was a GE profile. I'm like, oh man, I said, give me an hour, I'll be in and out. 3.5 hours later, Terry, I'm still there. Okay, you hear me? And so she's like, is everything okay? I said, yeah. I said, but I just got one problem. She's like, what? I said, stand on the right side of the dishwasher and look at me over the top. And so she did that. And so the left side was like that much, Terry. It was sticking out that much more than the right side. And so I told her, I said, this thing got to be straight. I said, because trust me, you look at this long enough over time, that's going to bother you. That this thing isn't even on both sides, but ended up getting it right. Had to re-drill some holes and re-level it and all that kind of stuff. But she's like, wow, I can't believe you pay that level of attention to detail. And she's like, I'm always going to use you for everything. That's like, what? That's what it's about.
Do what we do.
That's how we do what we do, right? Because if it was in my house, that's what I want somebody to do. Treat it like it's your own. And that take you far.
Exactly. I had a customer tell me one time, I understand them paying attention to detail, but geez, because I was so meticulous running this wire on her porch to make sure it was hidden. Right. And she was so impressed, you know what I mean? But she was like, and I was doing this last little part. She was like, I understand your attention to detail, but geez. I was like, look, trust me, you got to live here. You want me to do this the way I'm doing this? She says, no, it's fine. It's fine. I was like, don't worry. I got you.
Right.
And
right. Absolutely.
She calls me for everything. She's another one now. I went to do electrical and ended up doing appliances in her house. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. Now, you said you had ended up giving back like $1,500 over several jobs.
Yes, sir.
I ended up giving back about $1,700 on my first appliance repair job.
Oh, what was it?
There's a little thing called packing nuts. So what it was a stack unit. It was a laundry center, and wasn't a stack, but it was the stack. The one all in one. Washer dryer, and it was making this horrible noise. So it ended up replacing the bearing cup. Behind the dryer. Took everything out, disconnected everything, got it out of the slot, got everything all back together, got everything all back together, put it all back in there, dryer's working fine. I leave, I get a call. There's a water leak. This is in a condo.
Ooh.
Now, first of all, it's in a condo.
Right.
hardwood floors.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a water leak. Not only is it leaking in the condo that I was working in, it's leaking in the condo downstairs.
Yep.
So they had to call, who's it, Surf Pro? Well, the owner of the condo, she called Surf Pro to come and dry it all out, suck all the water out, make sure, there was no mold and all this stuff growing. And they had to cut out drywall. A $250 repair ended up costing me $1,700.
Ah, that's negative ROI, man.
Yeah, well, $1,750 because Mr. Plumber came and found out what the problem was, and there was a $49 service call fee.
Oh, baby.
I didn't have a clue what a packing nut was.
Right.
So, everything was tight. The hoses were tight and everything, but he explained to me that he says over time, when I shut the water off and everything, he says those packing nuts come loose. He says because they've been sitting there like that so long,
right?
And when you torque it down, the pack, and so when you go back and you have to tighten those packing nuts. I didn't know what the freaking packing nut was.
Right.
And he showed me.
Mine. Right.
And I mean, man, it was coming out of there too. I was like, oh my goodness, never again. Something like that only have to happen one time.
Absolutely.
One time. It'll
thanks
never
for the info, by the way. I take a note on that.
Yeah, so that was a very, very good, expensive lesson, but it was a great lesson to learn because, like I said, that was my first appliance repair job.
Right.
And I learned a valuable lesson from day one. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was crazy. But you have a real keen sense of organization. I've come to know that from the partnership that I and Rochelle has formed. And the cat's already out of the bag. She's been dropping hints on her vlog videos. Right. And in the interview that we just did yesterday, I put it out there. So this partnership that the three of us have formed is really going to do a great service to the appliance repair industry. At least in my mind, and I know in your mind and in her mind.
Yes.
And in our interactions and our meetings and stuff, I can just see the amount of attention to detail that you pay, So and when it comes to systems and processes, we all have our different strengths in different areas. But that level of detail, what would you say is the key contributing factor to how you develop that sense of detail and that sense of just that level of detail?
So number one, it was I give that to the military. I give that to the military wholeheartedly. Going through officer candidate school was the point where they kind of drilled into me the reason that you need to have a level of detail, especially serving and having people serve under you and being responsible for other people. Those little details when it comes to planning really matter. I didn't take it serious until they started grading me, giving me reports, and and giving me an understanding of kind of where I had some blind spots, where I made assumptions that were just so far off, that I was nowhere near where I needed to be. So just over time, I tried to hone that in, and then same as with appliances, I've always taken whatever training was given to me. Okay, so two of the key things that I was able to take was a strategic planning course that was courtesy of the military. Well, three things. I'm sorry, a strategic planning course. And I paid out of my pocket for this one, but I took the like Villanova and these other colleges have these courses that are kind of packaged, and it was a Lean Six Sigma, green belt and a black belt course. And then I went to my advanced education when I was a major, and it was at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. And it was a year-long leadership course. That was your assignment for the whole year. So you were selected amongst your peers, and you had a permanent change of station. You moved, you went there. I had a roommate who was in the class with me too, away from your family. And it's just a whole year of just planning missions, reading about leadership, reading about history, and doing those things that just reinforce every day why attention to detail is so important. So I've always taken that with me. And so when I approach anything new, just like appliances, I try to learn first how the whole system works. I'm like focused on theory, why. I had a class one time that says, when you understand the why, then the how is not difficult. So I always try to dig in and just figure out, okay, why did somebody decide to make a dishwasher? Oh, well, a dishwasher is no different than, before they had a dishwasher, you were washing dishes, so those functions are just transferred over by some designer into how this thing works, so then you just start thinking through all the little nitnoid things, so as you're sitting there talking to people, like I'm in a customer's house and they're talking to me and they're just explaining the whole thing, and I'm just like, I'm nice about it, but I'm like, well, that can't be it, because that's not how this system works. It's good that you put a fuse in it, but why did the fuse blow in the first place? So yeah, just things like that. So just all those experiences over and over and over and over and over again. And going back to that position as an operations officer, as the executive officer, that was a level of detail that every morning I had to be up and in the office before the colonel was, and I had to go through every, and that was like a level of detail that every time he had a question for me, I had to anticipate it, and be ahead of it. And I'll tell you, I was at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, in one of my schools, and there was a captain there. His name was Captain Pruitt, and I was doing a briefing, and he just stopped me right in the middle of the briefing, and he's like, there's 3 things that you have to do as a military officer. And I'm like, sir, what is that? He said, you have to anticipate, coordinate, and verify. And, he said, if you do those 3 things consistently and do it well, you will be successful. And that's what I wrote to being a lieutenant colonel in the Army, was those 3 things. And as part of anticipating is where all the attention to detail comes, because you have to, go through line by line and really understand everything that's going on and kind of how things string off of other things. But yeah, the military definitely has molded, because I wasn't always that way, Terry. Got started enlisted, and enlisted, I was just like, I was just following orders, getting stuff done, and didn't have all that responsibility. But, once you start moving up, it's like, oh man, this is real, So yeah, that was a big part of it.
Interesting. So what would you say would be one of the biggest reasons why some people are not succeeding? What would you attribute that to?
Man, that's a great question, Jerry. And here's what I'm gonna tell you. And it just jumps out at me. 2 things. Number 1, which I think is the most important, mentorship. My entire career, including appliances, has been built off of strong mentors. People who have walked ahead of me and can easily tell me things that it would take me years to figure out and get me on the right path a lot sooner. But you have to be open to that. And that's a challenge. You have to be open to having a mentor or to have somebody ahead of you that can really help you, and not trying to just run out there and be a one-man band, because it takes a lot of energy. See, that's a challenge. So if you spend all this energy doing stuff that somebody's already done and doing it wrong and taking 10 steps back to run 5 steps forward, then you're always going to stay at a certain level. So yeah, having that feedback from a trusted mentor who's already been there, who's doing things that are ahead of you. I think I read a book by Brian Tracy, says, if you want to be successful, just find out what other successful people are doing and do that. That's the importance of a mentor. And then the second thing I would say, Terry, is processes, man. Processes. Variance will kill you. So what I say with processes is, you got to have a standard you're working against, and you take that standard and you start doing it, and either you're going to get the results you're looking for, or you're not going to get the results you're looking for. So if you are getting the results, you do more of this. If you're not getting results, you do less of that. And then you start filling your cup with more of the stuff that's working, and you have to continually just refine, just figure out like what that secret sauce is. And it takes, there's some experimentation that goes on there, and you're going to screw it up sometimes, you're going to mess up, but you got to keep moving forward. And like I said, if you have a good mentor and some strong processes and you're passionate, man, in my opinion, there's nothing you can't do. But if you're not listening to anybody and looking ahead and having somebody that's really pouring out to you, or you're taking what people are giving a lot of game on, even on YouTube, like you and Miss Ward. I mean, I listen to you guys, but I take action. Like when you guys are doing stuff and you're like, hey man, listen to me, stomp. If I were you, I would make sure, man, I'm sitting here, I'm writing it down, and I'm pondering it. I'm like, okay, how can, like, that makes sense. Okay, so how can I get from here to there? Bam. Okay, I need some more training. I got a gap there. All right, let me go get it. Or I need some QuickBooks training, or I need to go get me an accountant. And I'm going out there and doing it, man. Just executing continuously every day. You're gonna get kicked in the head sometimes, but hey, it's okay. It's just how it is.
Awesome. Yeah, there are 4 levels of learning as well as 4 levels of teaching. And a good coach, a mentor will definitely teach on all 4 levels. A lot of times we get the bottom, we get the first 2 levels, mm-hmm. and those are strategies and tactics. The what to do and the why and when to do it. You know what I mean? And on the surface, it seems like that will be enough. Well, I know what to do, so I got the tactics. Do this, and this. Take these screws off of this plate, open that up, go in there, pull this board, or put it in diagnostic mode, or do, you know what I mean? Those are the tactics. Okay. But why am I doing that, and when do I need to do that? Oh, so that's the strategic level. So if you do this and this happens, then you need to do that and do that and do that. Okay. And that's why. And then if this doesn't happen, then you need to do this. So we get the why and the when. And like I said, on the surface, those 2 are normally good enough to start. But that's not going to get you into that upper level, because you got to go to the third, at least to the 3rd level. And that's the principles. And that's the laws that govern why this stuff works. You know what I mean? That's why you notice I asked you, what principles have you built your foundation on to build your business? And you laid them out, boom, 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 boom. Because you're operating from that, at least from that 3rd level. When you operate from that level, the other 2 levels will fall in place. Mm-hmm. Right? But then there's a 4th level. And this is where the elite amongst us operate. And that's the level of called essence. Because when you're looking at the essence of anything, you're looking at the nature, the intention, but everybody don't get that.
Right.
Everybody don't get that. So I think, as we embark on our endeavor and what we're doing, that we definitely incorporate all 4 of those levels into everything that we do. And I think we will definitely provide a great service to the industry. You know what I mean? So, but I ain't gonna hold you, brother. We've been chopping it up for a minute. So let me do this. Somebody who is looking, for a new career, a new business, looking to switch it up, increase their income. What would you tell them? What advice would you give to that person, especially someone that's transitioning out of the military? Because I know, for myself, when I first got out, even though I thought I had a game plan, when I first got out, it was a lot of hit and miss.
Right.
It was a lot of hit and miss. I thought I was going this direction, that didn't pan out. Then I went and looked this direction, that didn't pan out. You know what I mean? So for somebody just really just transitioning out of the military, what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, so a few things. Number one, I would say use the resources that have been provided to you. The Department of Defense takes military transitions, veteran homelessness, and veteran unemployment very serious. Serious to the point that they're pumping millions and millions of dollars into these programs. So the key program that you need to tap into is called Transition Assistance Program, TAP. And that's a program you can join 24 months before you transition. And it's going to take you through, skill analysis, interviewing workshops. It's going to take you through training with industry, where you can link up with employers who are looking to hire military members that, to help ease your transition and your stress. But the biggest thing I would say is that you do have an opportunity now, 6 months prior to your retirement date. You can go work in industry and still be paid by the military, because that's what I took advantage of. And the benefit of that is, it allows you to test the waters and transition and get out of that military mindset back into the civilian mindset. So it's just not a shock when you make that transition, and it's not stressful on you or your family. But out of that transition assistance program, the key takeaway was understand what your strengths are, understand what your skill set is, understand what you're very comfortable with. Don't just try to transition and find a job. Try to transition to find a passion, a career, something that's going to sustain you over the long term. And it may be totally different than anything that you experience in the military. But those skills that you gain in the military, that resilience, that discipline, that stick-to-itiveness, those are all the things you need to be successful. That's what you need, and just maximize it.
Okay, and one other thing, anybody that's out there that's running a family business, like a husband and wife team, like you and your wife, what would you say is the key to you guys' success as that husband and wife team?
Yeah, so the key, hey, look, working with your spouse is difficult. I'll be the first one to tell you, okay? Because certain things you can say to somebody who's not your spouse, you can't say it to your spouse, all right? I learned that one real quick. But no, all jokes aside, and the key is just being on the same page, having the same goals, heading in the same direction, and doing it for the same reason. We both, because she was working in a bunch of different corporate America jobs. So like she came from the insurance industry. So like Lincoln Financial Group, Mutual of Omaha, some of those big companies is where she's working at. So she just developed a very strong skill set in customer service. And she was always rewarded for it. Like a boss would write her notes, and she would get all these awards and stuff. So I'm like, wow, that's a skill set I definitely need in my business. She has it. I'm more operationally focused, so we're not stepping over each other. And the key thing is we value each other's contribution to the overall effort. Like, that's huge. I know I can't do what she does the way she does it, and she knows she can't do what I do the way I do it. So we're not fighting about, what each of us is doing, because we're busy in our respective roles, taking care of the client, the customer, the business partner, and making sure they're taken care of. That's what's key. Your focus has to be outward onto the mission, not focused inward on each other.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's beautiful. All right. So one last question before we close it out. And this is probably the most serious question I'm going to ask you in the whole time.
Okay.
You were stationed at Fort Knox, correct?
Absolutely.
So I got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to see the goal?
He says the most serious question. Hey, I'm gonna answer your question this way. There's fences, there's outer fences, There's outer fences to the outer fences, and there's outer fences to the. So yeah, I was not going to go. Hey, I was not going on that suicide mission. Okay, don't put it that way.
No doubt. No
No.
doubt. I had to ask. You know what I mean? I had, inquiring minds want to know.
No.
It's like the picture I took standing in front of the stealth fighter. I posted that picture on my social media before. And I'm standing there in front of the stealth. But what people don't realize, they don't see the cones and the cordoned off area. What they don't see off camera is the military police standing off camera with the M16s.
That's right.
Okay. Had I tried to cross that barrier,
right.
You know what I mean? But you can come in, you can take your picture over there. And that was when it was like brand new. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah. Well,
no,
yeah,
I got you.
I had to ask that question.
I'm gonna be that guy.
Well, my brother, it's been a plum pleasing pleasure to chop it up with you on this fine Friday evening. So I know you want to get back to dealing with family and enjoying the rest of your weekend. So we gonna close it on out. If you got any closing remarks, anything you'd like to close with or leave the people with, please do.
All right. So last thing I'd like to say is, as far as the appliance repair business goes, as my retirement job and what's supporting me and my family, I think this is the best decision I could have made. Appliance is just where it's at. I mean, I love the trades, always been good with my hands. I knew nothing about appliances. So I was, watching YouTube one night, looking at JT Hustles, and he's breaking this thing down. He had an Army guy on there who was like, yeah, I just got out, I'm doing this. I'm like, I want to be like him, but it's just great. Look at it, see if it works for you. But the big thing is, no matter what you do, link up with somebody who's successful, who's been there, who's done that, who's willing to share. Now you got to bring something to the table too. Now you just can't be milking off people. But you got to be a contributor, and whatever way is your strength. But man, I tell you, having a mentor, having a team like Terry, Miss Ward, the ABC family, TMM, just having a network that anytime I can pick up and ask some questions or just get some guidance so I can go running off. It's priceless. It's priceless. It's very important. So that's all I have to say.
All right, folks. Well, there you have it. We're going to call it a night, and we will definitely see you in the next one. Until then, deuces.